to this region. Met him before at events here and in Wilmer, and we're glad to have him back to share his expertise about this industry. So welcome, Dan.
Thank you, Scott. Am I on here? Yes, okay. Well, it's good to be with you today. I recently spoke at a conference in London, England, and the first speaker of the day was Andy Wheeler of Google Ventures, and he was the featured speaker. And he said, "We are investing in technology and agriculture. For example, we're the ones who invested in solar. And we really don't understand the customer." He was well aware that people were interested and that Google has written some big checks. And he, instead of being confident, said, "We're not sure what to make of agriculture." And I got up and said, "When Google invests in Solom and it doesn't work, they come and see us and say, 'Would you buy it?' I live in Fargo." That's the best setup I've ever had for a speech in my life. That's actually true. Google's investment in Solom, which was a technology to identify nitrogen more accurately and works, was an investment that they abandoned, sold to Climate Corp, and then turned around and invested in a company called Granite. I am simply, I didn't start off knowing where what I would do would end up. I created a small fund of entrepreneurs in this region, including some great friends in Worthington, and just simply set out to try and start creating companies in this area, and became convinced that I would rather build businesses with people who know how to find customers and have a Midwestern kind of ethic as a preference in my life, and to find problems that they had in their businesses that we thought were opportunities. So I had a small fund in Fargo, and as we did it, we made some medical investments early and then saw this ag tech market opening up. We actually invested in a small company that banks mesenchymal and hematopoietic cells for the future of cellular medicine in human health. It's located up there. And also in a plant genetics company, along with Cultivian Ventures. We're a small fund. It's never been about how much money we have. It's been far more about who is in it. And we just have deep respect for innovators, Midwestern innovators, boots on the ground people, suspicious farmers who've created something and don't trust anyone, which is just fun. So as we did this last fall, or 2 years ago, we went to the lead guys, said we want to do our second fund and delete it, and they said, "Well, we actually have one big company in us we'd like to start." They built a company called Concord, which was the first no-till seeding equipment. They're the ones who Solom came to see. And soil sampling, and they've been innovators in ag equipment for a long time. They built a lot of companies overseas, or a lot of sold over $350 million equipment in Russia and China, or Ukraine. And then they had built a company in partnership with a man who built Phoenix, which became John Deere Electronic Solutions. You guys have a tremendous presence here in animal health. Fargo has a tremendous presence in ag equipment and ag electronics. There was a time in the 90s when agriculture went through something called site-specific farming. Today we call it precision ag. The 90s, it was site-specific farming. The center of that universe is not far from right here, and not far from my home. And probably the two leading companies in that world were AgChem and Concord. And to a degree, when they were acquired, that world quieted down. Big companies do not innovate well. They distribute extremely well. Innovating becomes difficult. So about 6 or 7 years ago, it started to heat up again. A tremendous number of startups, many places. And they included bio, they included sensors, all sorts of different singular kind of applications. So 2 weeks ago, I'm in San Francisco at World Agritech, biggest ag investment conference ever, large turnout. And they have a panel discussion now. So when it started 5 years ago, they always had a panel discussion. They always had something to say. Someday there may be biological crop protection, and we want to at least say we have a presence. Now they have a panel on it, and they're saying it's real. That took about 4 or 5 years to delete it. And they would always have a conference on, a panel on precision ag, and the panel on precision ag is now turned on to the panel called When Will Farmers Adopt? There's a huge question out there, and the question is, all these technologies are getting created, but the amount that's actually reaching practice is actually small. Now by farmer, you can mean 700 acres, and you can mean 5,000 acres, or you can mean a million hectares in Kazakhstan. So farmer can mean a lot of things, and it can mean crops that feed animals that are then processed, that are then sold as retail products in a very large organization, or it could mean 2 people raising something to sell to a buyer who's going to take it. But it is still the case that there's a low rate of adoption and a low rate of market penetration. And I have a strong opinion on that. My opinion is that the distribution system in agriculture and animal, in some ways, is not always set up to allow these things to reach the customer. And you have companies that are designed to do this, sell $400,000 tractors. It's not easy to sell $1,500 moisture sensors. And so the fundamental premise is this: there are a number of technologies that actually work. They may not have been refined enough to be globally robust yet, but they work. They produce ROI. They make money. They're actually priced properly, and they're in very, very low use in agriculture today. So I'm a fund manager. They said, we want to start a company, and they would put in the money in the fund to go invest, and then they said, would you run it? So I'm actually the CEO of a company called Farm QA that's been started up there, along with the man who founded the company is now John Deere Electronic Solutions, and the man who founded Concord Animal Technology. And I spent about a third of my time in Ukraine and Russia. I landed on Tuesday. There's guys here in the room who've been with me riding on trains in Russia, walking through pork operations and such things, which has been a blast. I should tell you, on this particular trip, I carried along the advice you'll see in this presentation to test for nitrates in soil. And we went out in a field to demonstrate it with a farm manager, and it started raining, and then it started raining a lot, which shocked them because it hadn't been, and we got stuck in the mud, and it was a big adventure. And to throw things in the box in a hurry, back to the hotel, clean it up. Next morning, I get on a plane and go to Lviv Airport to fly to Kyiv. And I check into this box. It's 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide, 3 feet long, and black. It's a soil sampling device. I check it in luggage, I go up to security, and they say, we need to ask you another question. Could you come back downstairs? And I go to this extra room with the door behind me, and the man leads me into the other room. He has the box, and he pulls up the half-open gallon of distilled water, and then the half-open bottle of nitrate calibration solution. Sets one of them down and then picks up the 3 bags of soil. He says, what is this? And suddenly, I'm just looking at him going, boy, this is really funny. Look what I decided to put on the plane in Ukraine. I thought it was so funny, I think I unnerved them. They did make us pour the solution on our hands to prove it wouldn't explode and then let us go. So I actually run a company, and that company's goal is to bring applied technology to modern agriculture and increase the ROI on the farm. So the outrageous statement of the day, the world in which agriculture, how profitable is it going to be this year, guys? Is that it could be more profitable. We actually start with very large integrated ag for business reasons. The capital to start is always something you must be wise about. We like to be wise about capital, so we start with very large ag. I'm going to show you some things that are real and make money, that are not widely distributed or not widely known, and give you a flavor for it. And I'll give you a little bit at the end about what we're doing. The name of my company is in here because in many cases my company's how the product's getting to market. I try to be a generalist and just comment and not tout, but I'm sure I'm breaking that line a little bit here. But since we're new, there's not much way around it. So in agriculture, what is the primary sensor around which agriculture makes most of its decisions today? It's this and these. Most of agriculture still is largely done by using the brain and the eyes and the sensor. But if you can improve measurement, if you can find things that are not measured, diagnostics that can make significant ROI, then you can change the game and make it better. So here's one. I like this one as an illustration. In 2005, Syngenta signed an agreement with a Dutch company to bring a prediction model for fungus and potatoes to the U.S. So use a weather station, make observations once a week about the crop, be able to tell you for 6 square miles whether or not you're going to have fungus. Anybody ever raise potatoes? You have to spray 10 to 15 times every 3 to 5 days just to make sure you don't get fungus with a fungicide. Have to, because if you see it, it's too late. The whole industry is based on the ability of that product to be effective, which is great. Here's this Dutch farmer who said, you know, I've already built a company and proved over here that this works. I can make it so you only have to spray when you need to. You can wait 21 days or spray every 3 days, it'll tell you. Syngenta Europe and Syngenta US didn't get along so well, but they finally reached an agreement. They did trials from Tappan, Minnesota, or Tappan, North Dakota to Hermiston, Oregon. 100% of the time it worked. 46% reduction in fungicide, which is a monstrous savings in dollars. And they went to their ag retailers and said, terrific news. You can sell this. Your farmers will love it. And the ag retailer said, here's how much we make selling fungicide every 3 to 5 days. Here's how much we make selling your little device as a farmer. You do that, and we were vacating every contract we had. And they had to exercise their health law. That technology did not enter the U.S. market. And so 2 years ago, when I walked down to a farm in South Rapids, Minnesota, trailing a Dutchman behind me, and the guy said, I was in Hermiston, Oregon, I know about this works. And today there's 12 agronomists on one farm using it. And we drove down here this morning talking about moving this forward. By the way, that same model works. We're predicting sclerotinia in soy, canola, and sunflower if we could get 2 more years of market timeline. The ability to predict disease is not a question of technology. It's a question of business. And this is something that is available in the market, but to do it, you have to solve some business problems in order to do that. It doesn't make any sense unless you can treat it. So I put a man who raises 67,000 acres of soy on the phone with the Dutchman who was predicted. And then with the biological crop protection company that's only in vegetables, because it's, I'll tell you why, not out here. I said, you three want to talk to each other? And he said, well, I don't believe it works. And I'm sure that isn't a licensed product. I said, you want to have the conversation? Sure. This is a licensed registered product. He almost fell over. It's half the price of the current chemical product. He almost fell over. And yes, it works. You don't have to have a special. So at the end, he went, oh my goodness. The reason that this crop protection product is not in the market out here is that the contracts that sit behind the current arrangements with the big chemical companies insist that you can only add it to the tank add-on. You have to use the existing chemical first before you can use the biological. Again, a business problem. They say everybody's terrible. Those are publicly traded companies that probably in some of your portfolios, and you'd probably like to see the dividends be coming. You probably like all those people doing it. So many of these things are available. They are real. It is a real business problem. Today, if I brought the team from a 2 million acre co-op that does precision agriculture and said, when you try to give a farmer the zones for variable rate intelligence differences, what percentage of the final output was the brain of the guy who drew the maps, and what percentage was produced by the data from the soil analysis and the guidance? His answer would be it's over 70% of the brain of the guy. That's why we have only one guy doing it for 2 million acres, but that's scared to change. The reason is soil analysis today. So we love wet chemistry labs in soil, but it is an extremely difficult hand process with just a wide range of possible errors. So if you take the studies that have been done, it's extremely difficult for labs to produce consistent results. In some cases, it's out of their control depending on who takes it. So the average agronomist has to throw out a number of outliers to make the judgment. He does not have automated data. So the development of spectral soil analysis using either X-ray, infrared, or laser is coming. We have a lab in Fargo that we're experimenting with right now. We have a lab out of Quebec that we're experimenting with right now. This is a game changer. Soil analysis has made farmers money. But if you can automate it and make it much more consistent, now we can get fertilizer right. It is still the case, the majority of fertilizer is applied in the fall, often lost, often leached through the system. Not exactly what the plant needs. Major barrier is measurement. Effective, low-cost, simple, quick measurement. So if you can bring sensors to the farm, there's a big hole that you can make the farmer money. This just verifies that data. The concept is to use X-ray and infrared all the time to measure everything. So if you think about medical, all we're doing is bringing medical technology out as a sensor to the ag. We don't drill oil wells based on wet chemistry, soil analysis. We use spectral. And again, for largely capital reasons and distribution reasons, ag is behind. But the opportunity is there. This is the unit that I had on the plane that got me in a little trouble. This was released last year. We didn't release it. We don't want to be anecdote-based. Ag is full of stories. It needs to be full of proven data. And we actually worked with it for a year and working with the company, we're ready to make some improvements. It now measures very, very consistently, which is a rather intriguing system. It's an ion electrode system, very basic. It's been around in labs for years. We're able to put some controls around it and go out in the field and measure nitrate as we go. So I was in Ukraine where somebody had spread 150 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare in September, and I'm standing there in March, we're seeing what's left. And the answer was, how much? And that was their whole plan for the crop, right? So how much of it actually went where it was needed for the plant? How much of it was the economic waste? People talk about this, and it's certainly a threat to farmers, but it's a complete marriage. You can measure, the farmer's going to get better economics and a better crop. The ecosystem is going to get better treatment for the water system. You just have some bringing sensors to the farm. Eventually, I think on implement on tractor is going to come. Machine communication. We today in Rostov on Don, Russia, and in Cavalier, North Dakota, have one of these units on an air seeder. So those of you around corn know that row crop planters have been incredibly efficient. Tremendous technology has gone into the planting of corn. But most of the wheat crops and grains are planted with these. And they actually are extremely inefficient if they're not operated very carefully. The number is actually as low as that, or more. And if you're moving things with a pressurized tank through through air tubes, through tubes that then distribute down to each row. Small things can go wrong, and seed doesn't end up in the ground. If you monitor it constantly, and we have an acoustic system that does it, and then you can report it in real time back to managers, so that's for people who are running fleets of these instead of just one run by the farmer. You can recover that 20% from managers. And in places like Russia and Ukraine, that fertilizer doesn't always make it to the field. It was on the way out. There still is corruption where it's offloaded and sold for cash. The farmer doesn't have a way to verify that what he intended to happen actually happened. So we're introducing this year. These are examples of the things that can go wrong in an air seeder. Those are examples of the sensors. And our software communicating with this device, and then on the right you have what the driver of the cabinet sees. So it gives you another way to take one particular process and audit it. And for people who have fleets, you're then able to put it all together. Weather is changing. The way we get weather is changing. I spoke in Moscow, and Thomson Reuters got up and said, as a result of our new weather data, we can manage commodity risk much more effectively than we used to. And everybody who sells grain was scribbling. And I got up and said, we now using satellite and radar stations and fixed weather stations can give you hourly records of what the weather was, and we can attach it to a field record. And I'll show you a screen later that gives you an image of it. We can attach that to that crop in that field for that grower. And we can tell you what the soil temperature is going to be. So there have been significant advancements in technology around weather prediction, using all of the different satellites and radar stations and with less fixed weather stations. So instead of just knowing what it is, now you can start tracking under what conditions did I grow my crop, and what were the conditions at the time. The ROI for this is tremendously interesting because it still is the case that we're mostly doing it by a method. See my crop, discuss my crop, try to estimate my crop with my eyes and my experience. This is a unit that it's an example of how difficult this market has been in some ways. This technology came out of Australia over 10 years ago, and $55 million has been invested in this product. $50 million of it has been trying to get somebody to buy it. It was redone, and by some people who wisely figured out that if you stop giving farmers a bunch of data, and you show them a picture how deep the roots are, that might make a huge difference. So this is actually a moisture sensor communicating in the field, and it measures the movement of water through the soil, so either rain or irrigation. They actually figured out after all those years that when water moves through the soil and there's no crop there, it goes in a straight line. But a plant, it goes through photosynthesis. And at night it sleeps, so to speak. Photosynthesis slows. In the day it moves heavily. So the line looks like this. Night, day, night, day, night, day. And all of a sudden it went in where the roots are. So they really can show you. The truth is, the majority of people make moisture decisions for irrigation from the top. They either get down a few inches or a few more inches, and they make a decision. And they're watering too often, not deep enough, and too fast. If you get it down deep where the dark blue is, if the roots go down deep looking for it, if you don't get it down deep, they stay up high. Huge difference on crop height. So this kind of product costs about $1,000. And $1,000 a year for data management, and you can make $25,000 a year per crop by changing your crop. You can reduce water use, you can have actual data record of what you did. Whether it works is not the question. It consistently works. It's reducing it to practice and learning to take it. This is a new product that we've been developing. Those lines are compaction, a super condensed layer that actually the roots can't go through. So that tractor went out in that field and it was too wet. And where the wheels were, it got too hardened for the crop to go. This is a cutaway, where you can see that hard layer. In this case, the farmer cut through when he planted his corn, so his corn can get through it. Some crops can go through it, others can't. It depends on your root system. Soy is especially sensitive to not being able to go through it. This is an example of cotton on compacted soil and cotton on well-tilled soil. So this is a product we developed that gives you a ability to measure and then to produce a map. So we went out and thawed soil in North Dakota in the winter. Some people say thawing and freezing takes care of compaction, so we did it. Literally paid to heat it and thaw it out and dry it out. So the super layer is right here. You can see loose soil above the compaction. And right there is a 4-inch deep layer at the 7-inch level with hard. And 50 feet away, there was another layer at the 13-inch level with super hard. It's a little bit hard to see, it goes right like this. The picture thing. We started running tests on it from Nebraska north up to the frost line. It's consistent, it measures correctly every time. It's an untreated problem. There is not currently a diagnostic to create a map. It's just been sitting there to be done. This wasn't the hardest thing to do. It's just necessary. Business management software in ag has been developing. There's a company in the Twin Cities called Service that in my view is the leader. There are others, but an integrated system. I know no one in this room would probably do this, but I know 70,000 acre farms that still are taking a pile of paper to their company and have 2 years of paper just trying to track fields, whether or not they put fertilizer on or the chemicals they put on for their suppliers. An integrated system where you can start moving data electronically needs to happen. So you can produce P&Ls and records by fields, so you can measure and manage. This is the name of our company. Just to give you an image, if technology gets applied in ag, instead of financial systems, your accountants, and mostly the farmer, the public, you're going to have sensors for soil, for plants, for machine, for animal. Most of what we're doing this year is field-centric, but absolutely for animals, for food processing, and that's why we're concentrating on people who touch that all the way to the field processing. In our case, we're a software company at core, so we have new technology, cloud-based, that allows you to move data and store data without it ever becoming heavy in an unlimited way. So you can keep adding layers of data to fields, and keep adding fields, and then be able to search, store, and access. And the development of that kind of software, because there's so much data in it, is critical. This came out, it was provocative. I didn't write it, I'm quoting someone else. But they made the claim, if things haven't been adopted, then there's opportunities on seeds. So a 2,000-acre farm could have had $200,000 more revenue. That's what technology is previous to the ones I'm telling you about. So the problem of the right technology is reaching the farm is real. And when I'm overseas, and I would tell you that I even dare to say this here, I believe that some of these technologies are applied, the possibility of 20 or 30% increase even control for the operator is real. How we get through the business systems to them is the challenge. And I would rather have that in the hands of the people doing the production, sustained for a long time. I think there's far more value to be created that way than if it's disseminated through the chain and people choose which technologies they're going to be involved. This is our story. Question? Yes, sir.
On the section of land, how many sensors do you think would have to be out there, or is there one sensor on the machine that's planning, or is there sensors in the ground telling the machine release this much energy?
Sensors in the ground are a problem for process, so the sensor either needs to be a single location that you can move equipment around, like a moisture sensor, Or it needs to be on the machine, or
Well,
it needs to be hand carried.
Could one sensor cover an entire county, you might say? Or-
In most cases, you need to be field specific, but it does vary. A weather station for disease could cover 6 square miles currently. And we'll be able to eventually do that, I think, without a weather station.
Now, eventually, could that benefit every farm in that community, in that area?
If you could make the business model go that way, yes.
Yeah.
That's a business challenge, right? How do you get a transaction?
And, you see the farms right here now. I've been to that. It's a remote site that we are introducing. Given that we have a population growth area that is U.S. and USSR, the old USSR. But also there is a tremendous need for having fresh now. How do you see the difference between that there are technologies that can aid that?
I do not think that technology is the barrier in most cases. I think the question of how we're going to get the fastest diagnostic of whether animals are healthy, for cattle and swine, with the right developments, for exactly which technologies to win, because it has to be very low cost and very simple. But I don't think it's a technology question. It's mostly a business question. My opinion is that probably 30% of the cost in the distribution system in the U.S. has to go away. As ag gets bigger, those guys want to go direct. It puts more pressure on the cost of the local place. And so there's going to be a shakeout, and it probably has to be. And it's going to have to be redone. And, I think at the food processing level, the Food Safety Modernization Act has created tremendous problems, huge costs. Laboratory cultures need to be, you need on-site labs that can be created in seconds and not culturing and sending out. When our new technology's there, they're just a year or two away. And the integration through the system, and when you eventually get to retail, people want to know, I always have to choose which stories to tell or not tell, but the amount of food that is being wasted in the U.S. today is earth-shattering. And it's because of the system that's requiring food safety diagnostics for which there aren't treatments as a result of the new legislation. So everything that passes the salmonella test for which is not treatment ends up getting thrown away. All of that, the pain is so great and the opportunity is so great. So that's a very generalized answer. It's not a technology problem. It's a business problem. Capital has to choose to solve problems in ag versus doing other sexy things. We don't invest to make 10 times our money on things. We try to solve simple problems that customers will pay for and get 2 and 3 and 4x on things and don't things go high. So I'm called venture. I don't like it. I'd rather be called somebody who tries to build a technology company to make it profitable. Yes?
Is this a publicly traded fund?
No, this is an alternative.
Private.
Yeah, angels. Who else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting presentation. We move on next to Daniel.
You can hear me, can you? You can? Yeah. Roxanne, Abigail, and here's Scott. Scott, I'll let you talk. Introduce yourself.